Hello, my name is Jeremy Street. People think they are separate from one another, but they are not. We are each part of the body of humanity, and perhaps of all life on Earth, and perhaps of everything in the cosmos. If you want to argue with those statements, you can. And making those arguments will probably make you feel confirmed in your separateness. Personally, I am trying to go in the opposite direction, so that I feel more and more united with everything. At this point, my strategy for accomplishing this is communication, as in communion. This is distinct from data transfer, which many people confuse with communication. My most profound experiences of communication have been being to being, me to other. But I also appreciate the communication power of stories. Stories conveyed through some medium, such as text or video, or on stage to an audience. Ideally, an honest storyteller is authentically telling a personal story, offering it to one or more open listeners. While I feel that direct being-to-being communication is the most healing, I think that an honest story, honestly told and listened to, can also be very healing. I have a friend in prison who is named Naveed. He has asked me to help him tell a story about himself. I met Naveed after one of his victims came to my church advocating for gun control and told her story of her encounter with Naveed. In a few moments, we will hear Naveed telling his own story in his own words and in his own voice. We discussed the possibility of me recording him over a video call, but the prison video system is not good and cuts out frequently, so we did it over the telephone. But I did get a photo of him on the phone while we talked, which you will see in a moment. So here is Naveed telling you his story. It is about 10 minutes long.
I started having mental health problems when I was starting junior high school in 7th grade, at about the time I was turning 13. I'm from a family of immigrants from Pakistan. I was born in the U.S., but always felt isolated from everyone around me. I was always treated differently and marginalized. I didn't understand why. I felt I was neither Pakistani nor American. It wasn't until I would later read the autobiography of Malcolm X that I would realize that a lot of the things that I was going through was racism. In 7th grade, I would go to school and not talk to anyone at all day. I would come home and go straight to my room and listen to the radio. My favorite memories from this time was listening to hockey games for the Tri-City Americans. Tri-Cities is Richland, Pasco, Kennewick, Washington, in Washington State. It was the Western Hockey League with an age limit of 21. It was semi-pro, and many of the players would go on to careers in the National Hockey League. There was Stu Barnes. There was Olaf Kolzig. Those were my heroes when I was in 7th and 8th grade. I would cheer with every Tri-City American goal and cry with every goal scored against them. Listening to these hockey games was the only escape from my terrible life at the time, In 8th grade, things got a little better. I stood up for myself for the first time in a fist fight. It was the first time that I showed a spine. And the fist fight was a draw against a bully. But I got the confidence to try out for football in 9th grade in high school. I would go to the gym and become an avid weightlifter. I would get up to 160 pounds and was assigned to the offensive line, second string, and first string special teams. I was a decent football player, but I started having mood swings. I would cry in front of people for no reason. I needed help and didn't get it. My family thought it was just adolescence, but my mood swings would get worse as I had to quit football after 10th grade because I did not grow. I'm only 5'4" tall. At this height, I had to choose a different sport, so I chose tennis. I became an avid tennis player. I was good at school, and I received mostly A's on my report cards. Every day in high school, I would wake up in the morning and wonder, what mood am I going to be in that day? Some days I would be so happy. Some days I would be in the doldrums. I didn't understand. I could never be level. I would always wonder what mood would I be in that day. I would continue to cry in front of people for no reason, and my social skills were extremely poor. I was very isolated in high school as well, and spent most of my time alone working out in the gym. I thought that because I was stronger than most kids, I was better. I did not work on my communication skills or my social skills. I became a very religious Muslim to deal with my situation and mental health problems. One teacher suggested I needed counseling. He was my English honors teacher. I had a meeting with the guidance counselor, and I asked him if I could get into therapy. This was in 1994, and the guidance counselor said, the school does not provide therapy. I was crestfallen. I did not follow it up. I began to go back to my Pakistani culture, my roots. And in Pakistani culture, the men bottle up their emotions. So that's what I did. I then went to New York for college, to a school named Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. I would become a fanatical Muslim instead of dealing with my mental health problems. My mental health got worse, a lot worse, but my grades were very good. I got admitted to dental school, but then I tried to get out of it because I knew I was not ready. The dental school was at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and everyone knows that Philadelphia is a very tough town. I told my parents that I did not want to go to dental school, but my dad took me to Pakistan to try and make me feel better. I saw the poverty in Pakistan, and I was catered to by my immediate family. This gave me the confidence to start dental school once I got back to America. This was in 1996. I would begin dental school. But my mental health got a lot worse. I would cry in front of the dental school class for no reason. I finally sought help from a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and put on lithium. I immediately felt more calm, but my brain was in a fog. It was a mistake to continue with dental school. I would complete my first year. In my second year, I would turn to drinking alcohol. I became an alcoholic. The alcohol made my body immune to the medications. My new psychiatrist would put me on Depakote and Zyprexa, then take me off Zyprexa and put me on Risperdal. I would sleep through both my classes, and I would be on the verge of flunking out because of sleeping through my classes because of Zyprexa, the side effects of the medication. When I had to leave dental school because of being forced out to take a year off, I would go back to Washington State and not deal with my mental health problems. I tried menial jobs and was fired from each one. My social skills were terrible. I acted like a child. I would make one final attempt at dental school, but this time I flunked out permanently. I had become a failed dental student. I again moved back to Washington State and began living with my parents. I slept 2 months away, and finally my father got tired of me sleeping in all the time and said that if I wanted to continue living with him, I had to go back to college and try to make something of my life. We decided that I should try to become an engineer. In 4 years, I would receive my electrical engineering degree, but it was rough. I would drop out twice and then come back, and finally I would finish my electrical engineering degree. It was just pure luck that I got it. I was seeing multiple psychiatrists to deal with my mental health problems. I started having more problems with schizophrenia. I would have my second psychotic trip after I finished college at the age of 28. My first psychotic trip was at the age of 22 when I was admitted to the Friends Mental Hospital in Philadelphia. After my second psychiatric trip, I was admitted to the Lourdes Counseling Center in Richland, Washington. I partially stabilized after my mental health breakdown and my admission to Lourdes Counseling Center. I lost my private insurance, unfortunately, and I was put on GAU welfare and Medicaid insurance, as well as food stamps. I got fired from 5 engineering internships, so I was a failed tech worker on top of being a failed dental student. I failed my parents' high expectations of myself and my high expectations. I had tried to apply for disability, but I kept getting denied. I continued to try menial jobs, but kept getting fired. My life finally hit a dead end. I could not keep up with my student loan payments or my credit card payments. I again would fail at an arranged marriage that my parents would make in one desperate attempt to have someone take care of me. But I failed at that arranged marriage. I was put on Effexor after the age of 29. This medication turned out to be a disaster for me. After the mental hospital, I was put on Effexor, and it made me manic for a whole year afterwards, and gave me side effects of homicidal and suicidal ideation. I finally gave up on life and committed a shooting at the age of 30. I was delusional, and I thought I could end wars in the Middle East. I murdered one woman and injured 5 others in Jewish Community Center in Seattle. I underwent a depression because of the crime that would not lift for 6 years afterwards. I felt no happiness because of the crime. I would sleep 15 to 18 hours a day. I felt severe remorse for the crime. I would cry constantly. I felt so bad that I had injured and hurt these people and murdered one person. I was then housed in King County Jail at the time. I would finally get good mental health care. I was put on a good cocktail of medication and became a model inmate. In 2006, I had my first trial, and I almost won. I had pled insanity, and I was trying to go to the mental hospital. The judge declared a mistrial after a hung jury. In 2009, I had my second trial. This time, I was convicted and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, plus 120 years. In prison, I was finally in a controlled environment. I was sober and put on good medications. I finally got the help I needed in prison, but the pressure would follow me. I have served 16 years now, and I'm beginning to feel better. I know it is a long shot for me to get out of prison, but I will apply for clemency in 4 years. Now I'm starting to have more trouble with schizophrenia, and I have 3 disabilities. I have schizophrenia, I have hard of hearing, and I have visual impairment. If I get out, I will go on disability, get mental health housing, and try to maintain a part-time job. I'm reading many books now, reading many Muslim books. I'm practicing Muslim, and I feel peace from my religion, and it gives me strength in these troubled times, and these troubled times that I have in jail and prison. Thank you very much.